Well, I just watched The Bluff, the new Amazon Prime movie starring Priyanka Chopra, Jonas, and Carl Urban. And I'm not going to lie to you, I threw it on kind of like a little bit whimsy, a little bit like, I've had a couple beers. What's on that can be kind of fun and trashy? And sure enough, Amazon does not disappoint. I kind of like the movie. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm really not going to get into too much of the plot because there's not that much to it. Essentially, she was a pirate that worked with Carl Urban, and she betrays him and steals his gold. And then her husband on her, when she's starting a new life, foolishly takes a piece of gold so he can bring it for some altruistic thing. The pirates intercept him. Bring me to the woman who gave you the gold. This is literally the first 5 minutes of the movie. We then get introduced to Priyanka Chopra Jonas. She's raising their son who has partial disability in his legs. He's got leg braces, and they live with the sister-in-law who, if I'm going to say a negative out the gate, I hate the sister-in-law. I don't like her at any part in this movie, especially towards the end, right? But I'll save that for later. There's your basic setup. They're on this island. The pirates show up, right? Well, the local priest, he runs to Priyanka Chopra Jonas and is like, they've come for you. So there's a little bit of history there. What happens next is kind of like your average movie where they're trying to hunt her down. She's been on the island for a while, so she has a lot of booby traps set up, which I really enjoyed. I like the action sequences quite a bit because she's not physically stronger than anyone. And I was kind of nervous that the fights would be awfully one-sided, but they're really not. She kind of gets her butt kicked a couple times. I mean, she takes damage throughout it. Even in the first fight, it does not really go her way. She still takes damage. So I was okay with it. She also has to be clever, more clever and faster, and a little more using her size to her advantage, when she scurries under the table knowing they can't follow her there because the dudes are too big. So I enjoy that. She does a lot of really neat things just setting up in let's just do a little bit of spoiler stuff. Would I recommend the movie? Yeah, I'd recommend the movie. The ending will disappoint you if you're anything like me. But yeah, I'd recommend it. But she's very clever. She has taken the time to booby trap a series of caves. And in the scene where she goes to trade the gold for her husband, and this is a spoiler, of course, she's booby trapped the gold. So she ends up using the gold as a front-facing mine. And I thought that was great. The well by her house, she's already connected it to the cave system. Now, how long would this take? I don't know, a long time. But, it's a fantasy thing, so you give it a little bit of grace in that regard. She has the mines booby-trapped. It's fantastic. Like I said, she's been here for a while. The implication that they come out and say that the priest and her were pirates on the former ship under Carl Urban, I thought was good. You don't have to go too much into it. And actually, the restraint in not fleshing out too much of her backstory, I think works for it. It's very simple. She was young. She was taken by Carl Urban, raised to be a pirate, betrays him, takes the gold, gets out of the life. Real simple. There is one part later on, though, that I'm a little not sure of. So the reason he's hunting her down and he's so obsessed with getting her more than the gold is it turns out the British Crown has given him a pardon. And I think the implication is it applies only to him, but he tricks the crew into thinking it because his right-hand man, played by Boba Fett, he never tells him about the pardon. Because I feel if he did, he would read it and be like, this only applies to you, not us. What are we doing? Now, they may have mentioned something about that, but I don't recall. So that kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop, because if it applied to the whole crew, that's something you'd want to tell all of them right away. And the fact that he waited until his right-hand man was dead makes me think it only applied to him. Now, why is this important? Because I think when the British Armada shows up, when their Navy shows up and finds Carl Urban dead, I think they're going to offer that pardon to Bloody Mary in order for her to go and maybe hunt other pirate captains, and that's how we'll get our sequels. So take the pardon that was meant for Carl Urban, go out, hunt down the remaining pirate captains, and that's where I think they'll head with this franchise. And the fights in this were fun. It wasn't that long of a movie. I'd be excited to watch a couple more of this. They gotta do something about her acting, though. Priyanka Chopra Jonas, not a great actress. She does an okay job with the stunts, but if you're going to do more, let's work a little bit on the physicality of it, right? She does fine. Like I said, she does fine. I've heard people call it Pirate John Wick. It's not quite there. It's not like that for me. But I thought it was perfectly serviceable. There was a lot more fighting and less shaky cam than I expected, especially from something that I assume was relatively low budget. I didn't look it up, but doesn't strike me as a high budget movie. My biggest complaint, like I said, is the sister-in-law. Just can't stand her. She does such stupid things. Like, Mary sends her off into the cave, like, protect my son, your nephew. He's got leg braces. Get him to the end of the cave. And then she's like, okay. And then the son's like, what about mom? So she turns around. You were just on one side of a locked door. You just locked the door. Why are you turning around and wandering through the caves? So she approaches the door. What she do? She puts her face right up to it. Guy comes through the door, tries to choke her. Oh, it's so stupid. I can't stand like when characters do dumb stuff like this because truthfully, the movie hadn't really done anything that stupid yet. So I was kind of like coasting along like this is a solid B movie. That character, absolutely terrible. Worst part is too, she steals part of the finale away from Mary. She like runs through the cave system and somehow ends up on top of the bluff in like record time to find a pistol to shoot Carl Urban, which gives Mary the advantage. They should have kept it a fight between Carl Urban and Mary. It's their fight. Why is the sister even there? I hate when they shoehorn in characters who really, they don't belong there. They just don't belong there. Well, he killed my brother. Yeah. It's not really about you. You're barely a character in the show or movie, you know? It should have been all just about Mary fighting Carl Urban because they're the two with history. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed the movie. I really don't have a lot of negatives to say. I had a couple beers while watching it, and I think it's a really good beer and pretzel movie. And like I said, I think I know what the plots for the sequel will be. She takes the pardon, goes to hunt other pirate kings. And I'd watch it. Like I said, give her a little bit more acting, though. She's pretty flat as an actress. And I don't just mean in the you-know-whats. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.